Greetings, fellow music nerds, and welcome to Season 9 of the Music Makers and Soul Shakers podcast. I am your host, Steve Dawson, coming to you from the Hen House Studio in Nashville, Tennessee. This season, I'll be taking you on a journey down the many rabbit holes in the process of making great music. I'll be speaking to instrumentalists, songwriters, producers, up-and-comers through legendary veterans, and we'll go deep into their history and their process of creating unforgettable music. This podcast continues to be listener-supported. You can help keep the show going with a Patreon subscription, and for as little as a few bucks a month, you'll support the show and get entered into our incredible giveaway that I'll be talking about throughout the season. You can get links to all this at makersandshakerspodcast.com. And if you can't do that, please subscribe for free to the show at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That helps us out greatly as well. Meanwhile, a huge thanks to the main sponsors this season. Please check them out and let them know I sent you. They are Larrivee Guitars, Chase Bliss Pedals, Fab Filter, Odyssey Headphones, Railtown Mastering, Isotope, and the Hen House Hang. We absolutely could not produce this show without them. All right, thanks for tuning in. Let's get down to it with another episode of Music Makers and Soul Shakers. Hey there, music nerds, and welcome to episode number 186. And today on the show, I'm joined by the great singer and songwriter and guitarist and founder of the band BR549 and general awesome dude of country and rock and roll, right here in East Nashville, Chuck Mead. Thanks so much for tuning in once again. So before we get going, I just want to remind you again that you can support the show, and while you're doing that, you get the added bonus of being entered into our year-end giveaway automatically. And you get access also to our first 80 or so episodes that are now for Patreon subscribers only. You do that by signing up to the Patreon. It's a small monthly fee of your choice, or you can pay for a year up front. You support the show, you get entered in the draw, and the draw is totally insane this year. Every month that you're a supporter, you'll get re-entered again. So if you support the show from now till the end of the season, which comes up in a few months, you'll have an entry re-entered for you automatically every month between now and then. And your chances of winning, I don't have that many Patreon subscribers. So there's 55 or 60 or something like that. So it's right now it's 1 in 60 chance of winning a Larrivee guitar. It's a D40 mahogany guitar, insane guitar. It's worth over $2,000. Then there's an Odyssey MM100 headphones, which are awesome. I use those headphones all the time. Chase Bliss Brothers AM pedal, killer overdrive pedal. Fab Filter Essentials plug-in bundle. A DI from our pals at Spectra 1964. Some cool stuff. Pedals from Union Tube and Transistor. So hop in now. You can win some amazing stuff. Support the show at the same time, and you'll be forever high-fived virtually by me. And you can do that by hopping over to makersandshakerspodcast.com and following the links to support the show or donations or the Patreon links that are all over the page. Some new subscribers in the last week or so. I'd like to thank Chris Allen, Bradshaw Pack, Will Haupt. I'm not sure I said his name right. Haupt? I don't know. But whoever you are, you're cool. Thank you. And Bernie McIntosh. I really appreciate it, you guys. Couldn't do it without you. So on the show today is Chuck Mead. And Chuck's someone I've gotten to know a little bit over the last year, but I've admired him from afar for years. I remember first hearing about his band, BR549, way back in the 90s. Even up in Canada, we heard about BR549. And it's exciting to have him on the show today. You know, there's some people out there that just have music in their veins, and they can do things with it and within it that other people can't. And perfectly naturally, with seemingly no effort at all. You know people like that? Well, Chuck Mead is one of those guys. He just knows music better than most people. Chuck is known as the leader of the band BR549, which was a huge band in the alt-country scene in the 90s before Americana even existed. They kind of single-handedly turned Broadway in Nashville into a hopping live music scene where there really was nothing going on there much at all before then. And I don't know if we should thank him for that or throw him out of town, but in any case, you cannot deny the fact that BR549 had a huge role in bringing Broadway some vitality and live music. And that's what it is today, although it's turned into something way more terrifying than that. But in the 90s, it was just Deadsville down there. And BR549 set up shop in Robert's Western World and played many nights a week for quite a few years and turned it into a hotspot. Chuck is also a fantastic solo performer and a band leader in his own right, as well as having a big part in the Broadway and touring musical, The Million Dollar Quartet, which we will talk about. Chuck was born in Missouri, but grew up in Kansas, where he started playing music in all kinds of country and rock and roll bands with awesome names that you will hear us talking about. But he also played in a family band with his parents, touring on weekends all through high school, cutting his teeth that way, which is cool. And his band, the Homestead Grays, had some notoriety around Kansas. But when that band broke up, he moved to Nashville in the early 90s. And yeah, Broadway at that time was just a sleazy street with a couple bars, some cool guitar shops, and not much else. But that all changed, and BR549's notoriety from playing those shows led to them being on the cover of Billboard magazine, which is huge at that time. And that essentially started a label bidding war for the band. And that led to a deal with Arista Records. The band made about 7 records under that name before splitting up. And since then, he's made 4 solo records, and he's played on the Grand Ole Opry. His website says a whopping 137 times. I've seen him on the Grand Ole Opry twice. I can vouch for those 2 times. 137, that's insane. Okay, but I assume that's true. I think his website might not totally be up to date, so maybe it's more than 137. In any case, it's a lot. He's been nominated for 3 Grammy Awards, and he's still really active around Nashville. And for years, he also had a major role in that musical I mentioned, The Million Dollar Quartet, which is kind of about the music of Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, and Carl Perkins. And you can hear us talking about that and what his role was in that musical, but it's really cool. You can get all the latest info and find out where Chuck is playing at chuckmead.com. He's also a hilarious fellow and a great storyteller, as you'll soon hear. So please now enjoy my conversation with Chuck Mead.
I just want to do the right thing. Yeah. When I do my radio show, I got a couple of 58s.
Tell me about that show. That's on WSM?
Yeah, it's I've been doing it since like 2019. Yeah. And it's once a month, and usually I have people over at the Little Shack. Sometimes I've done it remotely during COVID.
Yeah.
But it's
the Little Shack being your place.
Yeah, my little shack out back. I just have somebody that mostly I know them, which makes it kind of different than just like, anyway, we just talk. It's not like a hard-hitting interview, and if they're on there to sell something, that's cool, but that's not what it's about. It's about just hanging out, and songs come up, but we play it. And I get to know some of the people and people that find it interesting. And I just had Grimy was just on the show. Yeah. I just recorded him yesterday.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. So I do musicians and music biz personalities.
Yeah.
And there for a while, the interviews have gotten longer. And I used to do a little opening, and then I would do a little segment called Creepy or Sexy.
Yeah.
Where I'd play a record and everybody had to vote on whether it was creepy or sexy.
Like what songs would...
The granddaddy of them all, the very first one I did was I Can Tell You've Never Been This Far Before by Conway Twitty.
Okay.
That kind of vibe. Like Waylon's version of Chevy Van. Some women found it sexy though.
Uh-huh. The creepy ones.
Yeah, I guess, it's subjective, but it's just a fun thing to play. And sometimes I get phone calls. Hardly anybody calls into a radio station anymore, I found out, which is weird because people used to call radio stations all the time. I mean, I'd be in the booth hanging out with the DJs while they were on the air at that radio station on the FM side, They didn't like punk rock.
Radio is so fascinating to me. Like, I love that it's still there, but it feels unbelievable that it's still going.
Well, yeah.
In this day and age.
But it's still free.
Yeah.
And it's local.
Yeah.
Mostly.
So your show just gets played live locally on WSM?
Well, here's what it is. It's an all weekend long thing, and there's a few specialty shows like Dom Flemons from the Carolina Chocolate Drops. He has a radio show too. Okay. And it alternates months. There's like 3 or 4 of them. So I'm the third weekend of the month usually. Yeah. And on Friday and Saturday it airs on I used to air on Friday on WSM, but they changed me to Sundays. But they have a streaming service called Route 650. And that it appears on Friday and Saturday on that. You can listen to it ahead of time. Or if you wanted just to tune into the radio or, WSM online, they broadcast it on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I've had a bunch. Marty Stewart was on it. I had Carlene Carter.
Oh.
But then I had like the Road Mangler, Phil Kaufman.
Yeah. He's around here somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah. He just moved. He used to live right across Eastland over there off of 16th.
Yeah.
But now he lives on Elvira.
So radio seems to me like it's probably something that played a big part of your life in a way when you were growing up.
Well, yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, it was. Musically,
that's what. Yeah.
It started out because my mom's family was musical.
Okay.
And in the late 40s, early 50s, my mom and her two younger brothers, and my grandpa and grandma were the Wines family, and they had a radio show on WNEM in Nevada, Missouri. First they were part of a thing called the Hayloft Gang. They sang Western songs and gospel songs and country songs.
That was like a local
little
band that would play on the...
Well, yeah, they were just a family. They had guitars. There was no amplification except for the microphone.
Yeah.
And they never made... Well, they made one record, but somebody sat on it in a car. And... But they they were musical. And then when they got a little older and got into high school and junior high, they started doing, playing basketball, cheerleading and stuff. They just it went by the wayside. But then in the early 70s, they decided that they were going to put together a dance band. My uncle playing guitar, my grandpa playing guitar, electric guitar. And these are the guys that taught me how to play too. And my mom played piano, and then they had a bass player, but they didn't have a drummer. For my 12th birthday, I got a drum kit.
Yeah. And an invitation to join the family band.
And then the bass player was so unreliable that we ended up teaching my dad how to play bass. Okay. So now it was my dad, my uncle, my grandpa, and my mom. And I spent like every weekend with them through my teen years. My dad was like, people ask me where my kid is on Saturday night, and I tell him right there. Because he was the bass player and I was the drummer. We were the rhythm section. But so a lot of that. But
was it country music?
Yeah, country music. We played all the country and an old rock and roll.
Okay.
And because I was even when I was younger, I was way into like Elvis and Carl Perkins. I knew all these guys because of my uncle was 20 years older than me. Yeah. And he was like an original rock and roller, right?
Okay.
Even more so than my mom.
Yeah.
My mom liked Doris Day pop music, but my uncle was totally into old rock and roll and country music. He was the catalyst for the material that we played. I still play some of the songs we played.
I bet.
Back then.
It doesn't get much better in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah. Late 60s, early 70s country music, that's pretty solid, man. Yeah. But going to your point, though, but there was Top 40 radio. There was WHB in Kansas City. WHB dial 71. They played all the top 40 hits. So I was way into Billy, Don't Be a Hero, and Ooga Chaka, Ooga, Ooga, Ooga Chaka. I was way into all that too. Anything that was just on the radio, I just accepted it.
Were you playing drums in any bands outside of your family band?
No.
Okay, so it was just that.
But when I wanted to learn how to play guitar, of course. So I learned how to play guitar, and I wanted to be, because I was singing too. Uh-huh. I was the kid that sang all the rock and roll. I saw her standing there because I got a Beatles song in, because I was way into that too.
So your mom and dad would sing all the country tunes?
It was my uncle and my mom.
Okay.
My dad didn't sing except for off microphone.
Okay.
And my grandpa, he would sing. He'd always do Running Bear Through the Bushes. It was
I don't know that one.
There's a song called Running Bear that was a big hit. But then Homer and Jethro did a parody song.
Oh, okay.
And my grandpa would sing the parody song because he was way into that. They were way into Spike Jones.
Yeah.
I got a Spike Jones record when I was really young because...
That's cool. That was a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. That music is insane. You have to be a really good musician to be able to play the revolver. Those guys were geniuses, man.
So what was the show like? Was there a whole talking element that was happening, and then they would like flip over to you guys and you would play a tune, and then it was like a like an Opry kind of style thing, or what was
well,
it?
I wasn't involved in that. That was in the 40s. And yeah, there was like several other acts, and they were it was part of a troupe called the Hayloft Gang. And then later on, they got like their own 15-minute show on KNEM in Nevada, Missouri. I grew up in Kansas.
Yeah.
And by the time that they revisited the band, it was just strictly to play it like we played the antler circuit, the Moose, the Elks, and the Eagles, and the Knights of Columbus, and when there was a couple of honky-tonks that we played through Southwest Missouri.
Oh, so this was a fully live band. It was not a radio thing.
Yeah, no, this wasn't a radio thing at all by then.
Yeah,
but it was only in the early 50s that they did that when they were really
cool.
young.
Yeah,
I wish there was recordings of it back then. But we would also do entertainment for like the rural water and electric conference in El Dorado Springs, Missouri, at the high school gym, and we'd be the entertainment. And so we had to, like, my cousins and I and my sister, we put on sketches.
Really?
Yeah. In between, awesome. we did this bit called the enlarging machine, where
tell me about it.
I'm interviewing a professor, which is my older cousin, Debbie. I'm the oldest. She's the second oldest. And her assistant was my sister. And she claimed that she invented this machine that enlarges anything that you could put into it. And so she explains it, and we're going to demonstrate it right now. So they throw this, like a shoestring in it, and I'm inside the thing. You can't see me. I'm inside this box, the enlarging machine, and I throw a big rope out, right? That kind of stuff. And then there was one other thing that was the same thing. It was like something that came in small, a whole big thing came out. A marshmallow, and I threw a pillow out. And so, we're going to have to really go the length on this last demonstration, something that really matters. Madam, let me see that baby. And of course, my other cousin is in the audience holding a doll, and she's like, no. She goes, no, it'll be fine. This will be fine. And they throw the baby in, and the thing wiggles around, and I come out in a diaper and carry my cousin out the back of the auditorium. That was the enlarging machine.
Wow, that's out there.
Yeah. Well, it was full.
I think you should bring it back.
Full entertainment.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to my cousin Debbie.
Yeah. So you were like on the road all through high school with your parents.
Yeah, but it was just weekends. I mean, it was 2.5 hours away from where I lived. And then sometimes we play in Topeka, and sometimes we play there in Lawrence at the Elks Club.
Yeah.
And
how was your drumming?
I can keep time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little rusty.
You must have got pretty good, though.
Well, yeah. And I became I was in the percussion section at high school marching band, too. I played the snare drum.
Yeah.
So I had to be a certain amount of adept to be able to, or else they would have just stuck me on the bass.
Like all the rudiment stuff involved in
that.
I
had to do all the rudiments. And they were, at that point, they were making us play match grip, too, which was fine for me because I like to play like Ringo.
Yep.
But like, you have to swing it a little bit.
Yeah.
I noticed that, but I was still too busy. I listened to recordings on the end. Just play the song, dude. You can show out when you start playing guitar. I want to tell my, 14, 15-year-old self.
So who taught you how to play guitar? Or did you teach yourself?
My uncle. Yeah. He taught me to play chords, and then he taught me the bar chord. And I had a chord chart that I still have. Oh, yeah. And he let me borrow like this really cool old Harmony, sort of Les Paul shaped electric guitar that he called Old Red.
Yeah.
That I wish, he traded it in for something. I don't know.
Man, it's probably pretty cool.
He played like a 66 Mustang back then too. My uncle did. Neat. Really great guitar. He traded it in for a Peavey, but that's what all those guys that age did.
It's the way of the future.
Yeah, dang. I ended up selling him a 62 reissue Telly that was a good guitar. I said, Uncle Larry, you need a good guitar.
Yeah.
And I worked at a music store at the time.
Okay.
So he got it. He recently passed away, and now it's in my little shack out back.
So did you start playing guitar with your folks in that band?
Eventually I did. Uh-huh. I would get one of my friends, musician friends, that I knew was a good drummer, and hey, can you play drums? And actually, at first I was playing bass because my dad couldn't make a gig or something, like he was too busy, and so I played bass on a couple of gigs. But I'd get a friend of mine to play drums. And then my uncle moved down to Texas, but we still had like family band gigs. And for a while, my grandpa was playing bass. And then eventually I got more of my friends that I was in a band with to play, the gig so that, we could sneak off. I couldn't sneak off when I was just with my folks,
That's right. The circuit was like around Kansas and Missouri.
It was mostly Southwest Missouri. There was this killer big dance hall honky-tonk that we played in Osceola, Missouri, called Lake Corral. It was right by a lake, because it's down there by the Ozarks.
Yeah, the legit hillbilly.
And I remember going down to Branson when they didn't have anything down there. When I was a little kid, they had Presley Mountain Music and the Bald Knobbers and Silver Dollar City. That was it. And it was really great. And they had real crafts people down there, horseshoes. But I digress. But that Lake Corral was just one of those things where you see people round dancing all night long. They come by while you're playing a song and sing along, and then they disappear. And they, it was one of those things where you brought your own bottle, and next door they had the setup store. And
is that place still there?
I have no idea.
Man, I feel like that whole scene is like such a great part of like learning how to play music, and it's kind of gone now, but maybe
except in Texas.
Yeah, except in Texas. That's
they
right.
They still do it down there in Texas, man. Yeah. Those things are alive and well. Yeah. And I like playing those because they don't give a shit about your show. I don't care what you're saying. I don't care about your jokes.
Yeah. They just
play a two-step, you play a swing number, you play a waltz, and you play a rockin' number. Repeat.
Yeah. Do you do any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah, sometimes. I haven't played one of those for a long time, but like you play the Broken Spoke down there in Austin, and that's pretty much what it is. Right. It's great.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. And where was it? There was another place. We used to play these dances. We get hired. They were kind of private events. They were like a dance club down there in Austin. And we played this hall down there called Saragunde Hall, very German.
In Austin?
In Austin, yeah. And it was a potluck thing.
Yeah.
And they had two. They had a spring fling and a fall ball, and we played both of them several times. And the people that put it on, we'd stay at their house, and they were just so generous and nice. And those gigs were so fun because it was low pressure, man.
Yeah.
Let's just play Ray Price. Yeah. Go around again. Who cares how many solos it is? They're dancing, And that came from when I was playing in my folks band. That was what you did. If I hear one,
just keep them on the floor.
My mom sing one more chorus of "Release Me," God dang, But I know why they were doing it. You just learn that kind of stuff along the way.
Did you continue playing with your family like into your 20s even?
Yes, I was probably 20. Well, but it would just be off and on because I had my own. By then, I had like this. I really wanted to be a rock and roller, but I was way into like the Ramones and Nick Lowe and all that. It was all that new music that was coming out. That's my rock and roll, the late 70s punk rock.
Is that the Homestead Grays?
Yeah, but that originally was because there was a collective group of musicians that lived at two different houses, basically, that out of like maybe 10 people at the most, 10 or 12 people made up like 4 different bands.
Oh, cool.
There was a pop band, a jangly pop band, which was called the Blinkies. And there was the country band, which was the Homestead Grays.
And that was you and
pals. But I was in the other one too.
Okay.
And then there was a reggae band called the Poverty Wanks. Or just Poverty Wanks. I wasn't in that, but I guessed it on it.
Okay.
I would sing I'd sing ska. We would do Obla Dee, Obla Da. But we would do a real true ska performance. And then there was a surf band called Rabbit Scat that I was in.
Nice.
We used to tell people we came from Ocean View, Kansas.
Doing like instrumental surf music?
Yeah, instrumental surf, rock and surf stuff.
So did you know all that shit on guitar?
Mixed original. I played mostly rhythm on that, but I do, yes.
Yeah.
I still play Apache.
Okay. Were you teaching yourself all that stuff?
Like I'd nicked my uncle's Venture records too, but I was asked to be in that band by guys that had already kind of established it a little bit and came into the fold of all those musicians that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Homestead Grays, then we would play like similar places. I was like, dudes, if we want to be a country band, we got to go play the Elks Club.
So
we got to
Homestead
go
Grays was like full on country band.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was I was doing some of my original songs too, which lent itself to that, obviously, and but always just a little bit because I got a punk rock heart.
Yeah,
there's just a little bit of aggression that's there.
Okay,
but that's okay because to me, Hank Williams.
He's punk rock.
He's pretty punk rock.
Yeah. Was songwriting something that you were always doing when you were younger, or was it kind of like you eased into it as that band kind of took off?
I always knew I should.
Yeah.
And then I did. I had this band. It was sort of I wanted to be a mod. I had a scooter. I had a parka. I had a haircut.
Quadrophenia.
I was way into the Who and way into that, way into Quadrophenia. And it was around the time the movie came out too, which, drove it on home. But I wanted to be like the American Jam. Yeah. I loved the Jam. They were great.
This is still around
this is Kansas. Like 1980, 79, 80. And I grew up in a college town, Lawrence. Mm-hmm. So we had a college radio station, one of the best in the land, KJHK. It's still great. Mm-hmm. But back then it was like they had the cool DJs. They had these guys play. That's how I got to know all this stuff, is through KJHK. It wasn't like the place I was hanging out at was like Top 40 and, FM AOR. Yep. They weren't going to play Cheap Trick because that was punk rock.
Right.
Seriously.
But the college station would play it.
Yeah. And it also helped that my best friend, we were like Beatle heads together. We met when we were sophomores in high school in art class, and we realized that we were both way into the Beatles. And he had older brothers that had everything. Like he had like 3 Butcher covers, if you know what I'm talking about.
Do.
And
Yesterday and Today.
Yes. And he's the kind of guy that he saw the Beatles in Kansas City in 1964, and he joined the Beatles fan club twice so he could play with the shit. And he kept the other sealed.
Pristine. Wow.
Pristine. And he still had all this until he ran into a relationship where it was stole from him and it got ugly. But I digress. Anyway, so Sean, our junior year, I guess it was 77, 78, he went on like a teacher school-sponsored trip to the UK.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he comes back with like the Clash and
all
the Sex Pistols and all that kind of stuff where, you kind of knew it. I'd seen the ads for the Ramones, but they were obviously Americans.
Yeah.
And so like all of a sudden we were introduced to all this.
So there was no way to hear that stuff aside from
college radio.
Okay.
And no, it was kind of like it hadn't hit here really yet.
Yeah.
This is 77, 78. It was still happening over there. Even though it only happened over there because the Ramones went over there in the first place.
Oh, was that the trajectory of it? The Ramones sort of kicked it off in
the
UK?
The Ramones kicked it off in England.
I didn't realize that. I kind of thought that all happened somehow at the same time.
But then like Malcolm McLaren, turned it into an art project. When I saw him open up for The Who, and they were booing him in Kansas City.
Really?
They booed all the opening acts. Stevie Wonder opened up for the Stones. Boo! Oh like, what are you doing, man? Shut up.
What are some other ones that were big for you?
Because we were a college town, a lot of that stuff came to Lawrence. Like Ike and Tina Turner played at the Lawrence Opera House.
Wicked.
And I didn't see it. I was too young for that. But I did see a lot of like bigger shows, arena shows. I saw the Police with 300 people at the Lawrence Opera House.
Wow.
I came in at the end because I had to work. I was a projectionist. I was a movie projectionist.
Oh, that's a cool gig.
It was a great gig. I'd still be doing it if I had time and if it existed. I think I saw Tom Petty more than anybody.
Really?
In that
he came through there a lot, I bet.
Yeah, man. He came through Kansas City. I saw him on the Damned Torpedoes, but I saw him in like Chicago too, and I saw him a couple times here.
What about like jazz and blues and things that also had a life in Kansas City? I was about to say that
because it's Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Like I saw Pat Metheny quite a few times. One night here, this is Lawrence, Kansas. All right, in the early '80s, there's a bar that's still there called the Jazz House, and they have all sorts of bands there. I saw Albert Collins there. I saw
the Iceman.
Oh man, great. Clarence Gatemouth Brown.
Oh, yeah.
The Bel Airs were an act that came through there. I saw, anyway. one night I was dating a woman who worked at the bar, and she was also the Jazz in the Afternoon voice on KANU, the public radio station that played classical music all day long, except for the jazz part. And then there was late night jazz show, but she did the afternoon jazz. And I saw Barney Kessel and Herb Ellis.
Oh my God!
At the Jazz House.
Wow!
In a small club.
Yeah.
And it was tremendous.
I bet.
And after that show was over, with a good little buzz on,
like they were playing together, just the two of them?
Played together.
Amazing.
Yeah. What a gift.
Yeah.
But after that was over, we had a nice little buzz on, and we walked 4 blocks up to the Lawrence Opera House and saw Husker Du. And they were great.
Yeah, I bet.
That was like 1982, I want to say, something like that, 1982. Anyway, what I'm saying is like that's a pretty well-rounded,
yeah, no doubt,
sort of influence. And then there was tons of local bands. There was this blues duo called Lynch and McBee. Bill Lynch and Lee McBee.
Like that.
And McBee could play like Little Walter.
Wow.
I mean, he's legendary. He went down to Texas, ended up being in a band for a while back there, but he was always a homeboy. And I would sneak in because they played at the Seventh Spirit Club, where you had to be, the 18 you could drink beer back then, 3-2 beer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And but 21 was the private club. There was no liquor by the drink. You had to like sign in and shit. But I would sneak down in there underage to see Lynch and McBee play. Bill Lynch played guitar, and they would be just a duo most of the time. Mm-hmm. Really good. Bill Lynch went on. He's the guy singing the Gary Shandling TV theme song. Yeah,
really?
He moved out to California, and a bunch of he became popular with a bunch of those guys because he was a great blues player.
Yeah,
really great. Had kind of an edge to him. He's still around. I think he still plays gigs. I haven't seen him forever, but anyway, so it was a pretty well-rounded. And then you had like the actual sanctioned shows up on campus at the big KU Union show. Like I'll remember, like Sonny and Cher played up there.
Oh wow,
yeah. And Wall of Voodoo was like this insane show at the KU Union. And then one of the best was The Alarm, but the Replacements opening up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They were in dresses. It was spectacular.
That's such an interesting time in music, like around 79, 80, 81 in there. Like there was so many kinds of music almost being invented at that time too, which hasn't happened in a way since. And like a lot of those iconic bands from all those styles were like touring actively back then. And
and it was, there weren't as many walls up between stuff. It was the only wall was, okay, that's what they play on KY 102 in Kansas City. Yeah. And then there's the rest of us that you could be into the Clash and the Buzzcocks and all that and the Ramones and everything, but also Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello and Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Linton Kwesi Johnson. It was just all this, and the specials, and it was just all this stuff that wasn't mainstream. Even Cheap Trick, before I Want You to Want Me, hit big. Yep. I mean, they were considered part of that too. Tom Petty even, before he had the really big radio breakthrough with Damn the Torpedoes. I mean, he was accepted by the punk rock crowd because on his second record, he has a leather jacket, right?
I guess I hadn't realized that. I was sort of, I just know of him as like a more mainstream kind of guy, but that
he was, American Girl it was rock, but it wasn't like, it was like Bruce Springsteen before Born in the USA,
right.
Which I loved. I saw him too. The first show I saw was Chicago at Allen Fieldhouse.
Oh, that was probably awesome.
It was Terry Kath, man. It was amazing. And then the next one I snuck in with my best friend Steve Walker in to see ZZ Top when they were wearing the nudie suits.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That was my first concert with ZZ Top.
That's a good one to start with.
It was a good one to start with. Yeah, blew my mind.
Yeah. Hello.
All that stuff you're seeing and hearing was obviously informing your future.
Yes, but the thing that brought it all together was when I heard Jason and the Nashville Scorchers.
They were called the Nashville Scorchers.
Yeah, they were called the Nashville Scorchers.
Where did you see them?
Then I was way into like REM. I saw REM for $1, right? Yeah. In Lawrence. And then they came through a few months later, and I'm paying $5 to see these guys? Oh, Peter Hornstapel's opening up doing, oh, that's cool. That was a scene. Yeah. And it was like jangly, but I was still like in the country realm because I was still playing with my folks' band fairly often, even though I was trying to do my own thing. But then I heard that initial...
And that was like exactly
This is like my two things, rolled into one. And then they were going to be coming into town, coming to play the Opera House. This is 1983, I believe. And the promoter bailed on the show. And we're like, well, screw that. And my best friend Jake, who was my roommate too, who was in the band Pillbox, and we're like, well, we should promote this show because they got to play. I mean, we had seen them at the Off the Wall.
What do you mean the promoter just walked away?
Yeah, the promoter just flaked or whatever, So I knew the guys at the hall. I eventually ended up working at the hall as a projectionist, nice. Of course. Yeah. But Tim Griffith, the guy that ran it there, he goes, okay, yeah, we can do a deal. You promote the show and sell all the tickets, and you guys take all that money, and we'll sell the beer. Okay. And the hall costs X amount. I can't remember what it was. Yeah. So we went to promoting it because, of course, we're going to open.
How did that go?
It was great.
Yeah.
And, I don't even remember our set, but I remember Jeff broke a string on his bass and he had to use our bass player's ripper. Really? He had a ripper.
Oh, nice.
With a Gibson ripper.
Yeah, I love those rippers.
Yeah. It sounded great.
Yeah.
And so Jeff used that the rest of the set. But, it was like my parents came to see the show and my grandpa and grandma. My grandpa was laughing. It's like, that boy singing those Hank Williams songs rolling around on the stage.
A different generation.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was amused by it. Uh-huh. But, they came to see me.
Yeah.
I was always supported in all, cool. In all that.
So did you hit it off with those guys?
Absolutely. Still great friends to this day.
Yep. Yeah.
Still great friends.
Was that kind of a thing that made you think about going to Nashville?
It was because they had rock and roll down there too now. And so, but then I just got, was in this band and things were going good locally. And then we were doing like little road trips around the area, around the region.
How far out were you going?
Chicago, Columbia a lot. And then I would get us some country gigs at some honky-tonks that, we'd have to alter the material a little bit, but, But
was the intention like? Did you guys want to get signed? And
everybody wanted to get signed. We played the Homestead Grads played the second South by Southwest there ever was.
What year was that?
1986.
Wow.
The Grays. I started taking the Grays a little more seriously because I wasn't really the lead singer of the pop band that was supposedly going to be the one. Uh-huh. The Grays were kind of a side project.
Oh, I see.
Then we ended up like, we were versatile. And we did the Battle of the Bands one time, and we won because my mom came out and sang Stand By Your Man with us.
Really
she's always the
down?
secret. Yeah, she's making her first record, by the way, right now.
Oh, my God.
88 years old.
Wicked.
Yeah, we recorded a couple tracks down here, but she sings with the band one Wednesday a month up there in Lawrence.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
The Beer Bellies.
Wicked.
Yeah. It's great. She still gets up there and sings it.
Yeah.
7 lonely days.
Amazing.
Pick one. Yeah, she did all that stuff. But yeah. So once I saw Jason and those guys, that's what made me just want to be okay. But I still had that edge, but I wanted to move. We were going to move down here in 1985.
As a band?
Yeah, well, Michael Janis and I were, we were going to move down to Nashville. And so we got a different guitar player and it changed the band a little bit, but we were on the road and Janis was still around. But we were going to move down. We came down here in 1985 and hung out at Tootsie's, and we hung out abroad. And I'm like, wow, why isn't there anything going on down here? This is great. You got peep shows. You got the guitar shop. Grooms was just small back then down on Broadway.
So Grooms was there even then?
Oh, yeah.
In the 80s. Wow. Okay.
It not even on the corner. They moved in the corner like in the early 90s. They moved to the corner.
Where were they?
They were like down the block, kind of like where...
Like right on Broadway.
Right on Broadway. It was just down the street.
Wow.
It was closer to Roberts, where... What was that? Something Cats used to be. It was a catering service that's probably something else now.
Yeah, probably is.
But it's still in that 700 block. And we hung out. We'd play at the Exit Inn. The Grays would play. Or across the street, it was called Elliston Place, which is now the Inn.
The End, yeah.
And, the Grays started going there. We played at this place called the Metroplex down in Atlanta. And it was weird. We spent the night at the place, and it was in a hood, and there was like booby traps around all the windows, and it was these Vietnam vets that were guarding us all night long. Don't sit by the window, you might get shot. It was like weird.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was like the Georgia Satellites played there a whole lot.
Okay.
But no stage, no balcony diving. There was a sign. No balcony diving.
There's a reason that sign was there too, because it happened,
obviously.
Right? Yeah.
So we were playing those places. We played up in New York one time. Anyway, we were going to move down here, and then I got sidetracked because, the Grays started doing good. Meanwhile, Mike did move down here and become Webb Wilder's sound engineer and tour manager in like 87, 88. And so I was still making trips down here. And the Grays recorded a record down here in 1992 that never came out. And that's when I finally moved up here,
Yeah, you moved.
I moved down here just because I wanted to learn how to really play country music. And
that's what it was about
and
for
I
you?
was almost, yes. And it was almost too late for me because I was starting to get a little long in the tooth.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
30, 31, something like that. I thought...
What did you think that meant?
This is where all the guys that really do it. I learned, I was being stubborn for so long. Yeah, this is a very great music community around here. You can do it from here. It's like, no, you can't. You got to either go to Nashville or Los Angeles or New York.
Tell me a bit about the Nashville of 1992, 93 in there. Like, I'm pretty fascinated by that because I actually did see it at that time, I guess, for a few days here and there. But, Broadway was not even remotely what it is now.
Well, no, but my goal was to get a job at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge.
That was you had
picking in the window. That was my first goal.
So on Broadway, there was Tootsie's. Was Roberts was there? Right?
Roberts was just a Western store.
Yeah, like Boots.
It had Boots, and it had Western shirts and gun belts that they sold to European tourists and trinkets, whatever.
So was Tootsie's the only bar?
Tootsie's and the Wagon Burner, which is Layla's now.
Oh, yeah.
And then one time when I came here in the 80s, where Legends was the Western Union place. But, there's a door that goes into Legends that's on the Fifth Avenue side.
Okay.
And that used to be a separate little club that was owned by a couple that I knew when I moved down here. Wanda and Louie ran that club, and I saw Zach Taylor, one of the guys that helped me get on at Tootsie's.
Okay.
Who ended up working at Tootsie's.
And Tootsie's was like a real music scene happening, or not really?
No, okay. It was Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, just where it used to happen. You know what I mean? That was where the Hillbilly Left Bank, Roger Miller, Hank Cochran, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson.
They hung and
Loretta
drank there.
Lynn.
Yeah.
They were all hanging out there, and they stayed out late night drinking beer, talking about ideas. There was a guy in the front window playing for 4 hours at a time for tips, and playing their own music as well, because it's a songwriting town. And so that's what I wanted to do. My wife and I moved down here with $1,500 and no job. And we got a place over here on Shelby Avenue because Mike and Kathy had lived over in Green Hills, but they had just moved over to this neighborhood in East Nashville, right off on Holly Street.
And this area would have been pretty sketcho.
It was incredibly sketcho.
Yeah. In
the daytime, it wasn't so bad, but there was tons of crack houses and gunfire every night. Yeah. And the realtor who eventually sold us our house where we live now in the neighborhood knew another realtor who had just bought this house on Shelby from they had just died. The people had just died. And it was like this little 2-bedroom house, one level, and he was pulling. When we went in there, he was pulling the carpets up, and there was great hardwood floors, and it had a carport and a garage, and we're like, how much? And he's like, $400 a month. Okay, do we sign a lease? Nah. We had all of our teeth, and we talked in complete sentences. He was refreshed. And I said, well, we have a dog. I'll build a fence for the dog. He built a fence for the dog.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was great. And so, but
that was right on Shelby?
Yeah, right on Shelby, 1604 Shelby.
Okay.
And
really close to here.
But yeah. I moved like less than 8 blocks away after that.
Yeah.
But anyway, a lot of gunfire, a lot of stupid shit.
Was there still a remnant of the old school guys from 2 generations back that all, like Buddy Emmons and all those guys lived around here?
Well, there was a boarding house down on, I want to say, Ordway.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember where they all stayed. Buddy Spiker stayed there. Hank Williams stayed there. Now Chris Scruggs would be very disappointed in me right now because I can't remember the name of the boarding house. It was like Ma something or
I know
boarding house. And everybody, but then, like Bob Moore and Billy Robinson, who was a steel player, and Bob Moore, the bassist, they went to East High.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They were from this neighborhood.
Yeah.
They would tell us they used to walk across the bridge to go play the Opry, carrying their steel underneath, that kind of shit.
So were any of those guys still around or not really?
No, they'd all split. They'd all live in a nice house on the west side, where you could get stuff.
Yeah.
You couldn't get anything over here. They wouldn't even bring the Nashville scene over here because
Dave Jakes moved over here right around then too. I think 93, 94, and he said it was super dodgy.
Well, there was a lot of songwriters and musicians over here because it was extremely cheap. And there was more than even we knew at the time. When we first moved in, the house next door was empty. The guy had died and his daughter had inherited it. But then suddenly she's moving her son and her daughter-in-law into it. But the son's not there because he's in jail. And suddenly this 8-foot chain link fence goes up around so he could feel good and at home when he got it home, And that's when all the stupid shit started. And his brother lived down the corner, and they were drug dealers, and they were, just abuse, people screaming and yelling all the time, culminating in a murder after he went back to jail.
Oh my God.
And this is flash forward, BR's doing good. I'm over in Paris on my calling card, calling my wife, hey, I just found where the hot club was. I'm really, I'm walking around. She's like, oh, really? There's blood on my tomatoes. I'm like, what? Yeah. So that was when we were like, well, maybe we ought to start looking for a house.
Uh-huh.
And we did. We found one right across from Mike and Kathy over here, which was great because then Michael Janis ended up being the producer on the first 4 BR 549 records.
Yeah.
He was the manager of the Castle. He worked for Paul Kennerly for a while. And then he became like the lead professor for sound audio engineering at Belmont, where he's still a professor.
Wow. Oh, that's where I know his name from.
Michael Janis.
Yeah. Okay.
So we go way back.
So what was the genesis of the band? Like, how did you guys start
BR?
Yeah.
It was quite by accident. So I had a straight job. I had to get a job. We had to get, we had to have some money coming in.
Yeah.
So I'm reading the back of the Nashville scene, and it said, activists wanted. I'm like,
wow.
Okay, I'll call it. And it was Greenpeace. And I had a friend back home who'd worked for Greenpeace in North Carolina. And he said, it's great. You just got to talk people out of money. And you work from 6 to 9 and you're just doing something. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go and apply. I knock on doors. Hey, I'm Chuck with Greenpeace. The Save the Whales people. Uh-huh. Not too many whales here in Tennessee, but you know what? We got a lot of other water issues we're working on. Yep. You can't fish in the Pigeon River out there in East Tennessee because all these paper companies are dumping all sorts of poison into it. You can't even fish. You know what would help? $100. I'm sold. Yeah, well, you see, that came in handy once I was on Lower Broadway.
That's right.
But we, the turf. You had what you called turf. You'd go to a meeting earlier, like 4:30 or 5. You'd have the pre-meeting and skill sharing. Here's what you can say. Don't use weak. sales training, basically. And after turf, we'd turn our money in, and then we'd go somewhere. And we'd end up going to Tootsie's Orchid Lounge because one of the guys thought it would freak out all the hippie guys. But everybody was into it. And of course, he tried to embarrass me by, hey, get up and play. This guy sings. So I got up and played, and I played, I can't remember what I did. I did 2 songs, and one of them was a song that I wrote called Me and Opie Down by the Duck Pond. It's the true story of the lost episode of the Andy Griffith Show where, I don't know. But Opie and his cousin from Arkansas, and we always said, framed it like it was his cousin Bill Clinton from Arkansas. Came in and turned him onto some weed. Mm-hmm. But actually, it was Goober in the song. But anyway, I sang that, and I ended up getting a reserve gig out of it. Like,
what does that mean?
Like, I was down there enough that if somebody couldn't make it, they needed a sub. I was there.
Oh, okay.
And I had this cool Gretsch double anniversary, and I had my Echoplex. And back then you had to plug it straight into the sound system. Most of them had acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
But I had the Echoplex, so mine sounded because it was electric guitar.
Echoplex has a little amp in it.
It does. It's a preamp, and it sounded great in that room.
Yeah. I bet.
And there was just one guy, and I eventually. Then the Greenpeace office kind of closed because they readjusted. They didn't want people knocking on people's doors anymore. The liability was too much, I'm sure, because, I did get a lot of, get off my porch, you're making my lumber prices go up. And I'm like, no, I think that's outsourcing is making your lumber prices go up. But
that's for another day.
I'll talk to you later. You learn not to argue with people.
Yeah.
You just, you try to make their point, and if they give you any pushback, just go to the next house because you'll find somebody that will give you money. Yeah, so I ended up, there was a golden era where I had 2 or 3 gigs plus sub gigs a week at Tootsie's.
That many?
And and one, it wasn't like a regular. Well, it was 2 regular spots, and I still played that for a long time. Sunday afternoon and Monday 10 to 2, so Zach Taylor could have a night off. On Monday.
Was it busy down there?
And I worked door a little bit. Oh yeah, there were people down there.
Yeah.
But it was rough. It got weird sometimes. And and do I look like a doorman on the toughest street in town? But I had like a fedora hat that I would turn up. And that was when Farron Young was still hanging out there. Wow. And he called me, hey, Jimmy Durante, go get me a beer. Because I hadn't looked like Jimmy Durante hat, But he knew I was a singer, so he had to give me some shit,
Yeah.
And, but it was a golden era. And Tim, who was one of the guys from Greenpeace, worked door down there too.
Okay.
And another woman named Ann worked behind the bar from Greenpeace, and we were kind of ran the place for a while.
So you took it over.
And then some weird shit, and we didn't know that what had just happened a few months was that Robert Moore had been running Tootsie's forever.
This is Robert of Roberts.
Yeah, of Roberts.
Okay.
He kept it going for a long time. And then some other people saw an opportunity and made a deal with the owner, and they got Tootsie's. And meanwhile, Robert also had the Rhinestone, which was the Western wear place in the old Shot Jackson music store.
Okay, yeah.
And
was that whole thing going on when you were there?
Shot Jackson?
The pedal steel shop?
No.
That was long gone?
That was long gone.
Okay.
It was just a trinkets place. They had painted the guitar. It said Rhinestone on it because that was where you bought your country stuff, for tourists. Well, Robert, back then, it was just beer down. They were all taverns. There was no liquor. It was all beer.
Okay. That's all they could sell.
Yeah. And it's easy to get a beer license. He got a beer license, put in a bar and a little stage. Yeah. And now he's competing with Tootsie's, and it's called Robert's Rhinestone 3 Doors Down was the name of the place. It even said it on the window for a long time.
Was he cool?
Who, Robert?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Boxer.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He claimed to be the only guy to ever lick Buford Pusser. He comes from around there. Yeah. I saw him one time grab a guy from across the bar and punch him all the way down and out the door. Wow. Yeah, it was kind of rough down there. You didn't come down there acting up. You get your face bounced off a parking meter
by Robert,
by somebody.
Yeah.
But so so Robert, they had that going on, and another guy that showed up down the street about the same time that was doing sort of the same thing as me, but a little different, was this guy named Gary Bennett. And, you know, we were both singing like a lot of Johnny Horton and Ray Price and Hank Williams. Yeah. But then he was doing a lot of like Charlie Pride and Clint Black. You know, he came from, you know, I came from a little more rock and roll. I would do Carl Perkins, you know, and Billy Lee Riley and shit. So I was playing at Tootsie's one night, and Robert had put together a band for Gary at Robert's. Like, he hired other musicians because Gary was, you know, we were like the younger guys not doing what anybody else is doing. Uh-huh. And one day Gary comes down and says, well, so-and-so, he's a guitar player. He can't make it this weekend. Can you come down and play guitar? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Totally. I need the gig.
In his band.
Yeah. Yeah. And so immediately, like, there were some Irish tourists that literally filmed the very first time we ever played together. So we have a tape of that.
Whoa.
And we sang together. Like, it was weird how connected it was. And I wasn't that, you know, I wasn't used to playing lead guitar. I was always the rhythm guitar player. So I was like having to, you know, I could do some stuff. I did do some stuff, but I was really having to learn how to do it right. Like, learn that it's in the country music is in that tic tac rhythm, like Johnny Cash. Yeah. Only with, you know, they're doing that on all those Hank Williams records. They don't have drums on it,
right? Because
the guy on the archtop's playing the sock, and Hank is playing the open chords, and those guys are the drums. The electric guitar don't tack. So I was really learning that.
Was someone pointing all that out to you, or did you just
know I was just starting to learn it. Yeah, I was just starting to learn it. And then, you know, I met Greg Gehring was coming down to see this play. So now we can't, the other guitar player never came back.
Okay.
So now it's great. I got, like, I'm playing, you know, on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I have Sunday and Monday
solo
too. And so I got Tuesday and Wednesday is like I could be a real person.
Yeah.
But I was, you know, we were still learning. I was still coming down and playing.
Were you making enough to make a living just doing that? Or
well, yeah, by that time I'd quit my jobs.
Yeah.
And I would just do spotty work anyway, just to make money for a little while. But, you know, my goal was to get a thing going. So, yeah, there was some times where I would play like 2 to 6 and Gary would play 6 to 9, and then we would both play 9 to 2.
Oh my God.
You know, just kind of learning each other.
Yeah.
There was like a few weeks that were like that.
This is at
learning song. This
Roberts,
is at Roberts.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was when we'd have to take all the racks of clothes off the stage before we could start. Oh, yeah.
Is the stage where it is now?
Yeah, but it was way lower. It was about that high.
Yeah. And the window was still there.
And the window was still there.
Were people starting to come and see you guys?
Not yet. And we had like a rotating drummer. There was a guy named Bones, an older guy that played bass. Electric bass. And he was a great bass player. He played with Tanya Tucker, I think, at one point. And then, you know, after the first weekend, we were really jazzed. This is going to be kind of cool. And then this guy comes up to us, this dark-haired guy in a black cowboy hat and black Western. He said, "Hey, my name's Mark Udy. I'm going to be in your band," you know, because Robert hired the band, you know. It wasn't like it was like, "Oh, really? What do you play?" "I play saxophone." I'm like, saxophone? Saxophone on Ray Price? Unless he's doing Western swing, we don't have a fiddle, so we can't do that. And so, you know, he was in the band. So for a while, it was like this guy played soprano sax and alto sax.
Whoa.
And so then we started doing a little swinging. Turn the guy on to Louis Jordan. He didn't know about Louis Jordan.
Okay.
And, you know, we were really into it. But the drummer was like the X factor. It would just be a different guy all the time. So I was in a band back in the Homestead Grays. We would play with this other band called Ricky Dean Sinatra. And that was the name of the band and the lead guy. You had to have a hillbilly first name and an Italian last name. That was so. And he was one of the guys. The two guys in that band I co-wrote that Opie song with.
Okay.
And I still write songs with his real name is Alan Murphy, and I still write song with him today.
Oh, cool.
But their drummer was this guy named Shaw Wilson that I'd known since 1982, 83. And before I left Lawrence, he and I had formed a duo. It was just drums and guitar, and we were called Dos Cajones.
Really?
Yeah. And yeah, it was great. And we'd get gigs, and we got band rates because we had a drummer. It was one hotel, my Aerostar van. It was, you know, we were doing it. But I'd moved down here, and he was still working as a cook at a sorority. And I'm like, Shaw, just come down for the summer, man. Mm-hmm. Just check it out and see if you want to move down, because it's an incredible freak show at Roberts. Because it was like different soap opera freaks. Yeah. Not huge crowds yet, but just like.
Were you guys called anything?
We weren't called anything. We didn't have a name.
Okay.
So he came down and he lived with us. And now he's the drummer, a guy who knows swing, who knows country, and but also knows how to rock a little bit too. And he definitely has a feel of his own. So now we kind of have that core thing, and that's when a guy named Greg Gehring comes in, mm-hmm. and he's sitting in with us. I'm like, wow, that's that guy's a freak. Mm-hmm. He's right, then we start planning with him how we're going to take over Lower Broadway. And I'm like, oh, where are you going to play? And he was like thinking the Wagon Burner or whatever. Meanwhile, one night I'm playing at Tootsie's at 10 a.m. There's hardly anybody in the bar. And all of a sudden, it's like a crowd came in. We're like, where did they come from? Is it like a blue line bus or the gray line bus stop or something this late? And this guy walks through the door in a cowboy hat, and they're obviously following this guy. Okay. And you could tell he's somebody. And by that time, when Shaw moved down, he started playing brushes behind me on a snare. And it just so happened that night that there was a guy that we'd been kind of hanging out with that was playing with Greg, named Preston Rumbaugh, who had an upright bass. And so I on that little stage, not the big stage that they have now. It was just a little one person. We had 3 people crammed up there, and it was kind of happening because all the people were in there. And I was, playing Johnny Horton and Hank Williams and all that kind of shit. And I started, hey, how about a little something for the something? Yeah. And the dude in the hat stands up and goes, I'll give you $25 for every Hank Williams song you can play.
For every, oh my God.
And I'm like, wow. Oh, starting now? And when I reached $300 worth, I said, you want me to keep going? And he goes, no, you keep going, son. And I'm like, son, I think I'm older than you. And I took him for $600 worth of Hank Williams songs.
Holy shit. And he paid up.
Well, he only had 575. So I always say he got jambalaya for free. But it was John Michael Montgomery.
Oh my God.
Was the guy. And then he got up and sang, and it was a big night, right?
Yeah.
But that night they were like, we want you guys, to come play at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. Whispering in our ear, trying to get us away from Roberts. You need to play in the back room at Tootsie's. We're going to start doing that.
Okay.
And I'm like, well,
it's not like you can do it on the slide.
No, we're down at Roberts. But I tell you what, Greg Gehring would be great up here. Uh-huh. And I talked to Preston because Preston's playing with Greg and everything. Next thing you knew, Greg was playing in the back. And then all weekend long, it was like, all of a sudden people started showing up, and it was like this little circus that we had down there.
Just people in the 2 bars, basically.
People going back. Well, and then there was the Wagon Burner. They stopped in there too, because that was where the bars were.
Yeah.
And Adult World was right next door, and across the street was the Wheel. That was a peep show too.
Yeah.
But they had the Music City Lounge over there. That was the tough side of the street. And the Turf.
Was the record store there?
Oh, yeah.
Functioning?
Ernest Tubb was there, and also the Lawrence Brothers. That was a great record store.
Oh, that was another record store?
Oh, yeah, man. And when that guy let you go upstairs, that's where the gold was there. Yeah, that was something else. That was a cool record shop. But, that was Lower Broad. If you went down towards the river, it was like real businesses.
Like just
instead of bars. Yeah.
Okay.
The next bars were on 2nd Avenue.
Printers Alley, I guess.
And then Printers Alley had their bars up there, too. And you hardly ever saw the people from Printers Alley. You knew there was a whole scene going on up there, too. Mm-hmm. And every now and again, we'd sneak up, and they knew who we were. And
were you down there pretty much every night?
I was down there 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
It ended up because we played Wednesday through Saturday, 9 to 2. And, suddenly there's like this line to get in. It was a thing.
And at that point, you were called BR549?
Well, no, how that happened was this truck driver showed up who would show up every week.
Yeah.
And he gave us $50 to get some posters made to put in the window. So now we have to think of a name for the band.
Okay.
And so many people had come up to us and said, "Hey, are you guys brothers?" And we go, "No, we ain't brothers." So we were almost the We Ain't Brothers.
That's actually pretty great.
It would have been a great name.
Yeah.
A lot easier to explain to a German DJ than BR549.
Uh-huh.
But, it was after a gig and, we were in the alley and everybody was riffing and trying to think of a name. And we came back around. We walked past Tootsie's Orchid Lounge and somebody mentioned Junior Samples. And I think Gary told the story that he had heard about how one time Junior walked into the front door at Tootsie's and saw Archie Campbell sitting there with 2 pretty girls on his arm. He said, "Oh, Archie, you got 2 pretty girls and I ain't got there." And we're just like, what a hillbilly, Nobody could be Junior Samples except Junior Samples. And we were laughing. And the number to call is BR549. And I think it was the sax player guy said, "That's what we ought to call the band." Uh-huh. We just started rolling over laughing. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Because this was the last stop as far as we were concerned. It was like Lower Broad. Uh-huh. But we were doing it. We were doing our own songs. There was never a time when we didn't do our own songs.
That's cool.
Mixed in with all the stuff.
So there was no inclination to leave the Lower Broadway.
Well, we didn't, we wanted to. We wanted to do something. We knew there was more than this, and we knew that it was starting to happen. So we went down to Hatch Showprint, which was in the next block. Oh, yeah. It was in the 600 block. And Jim Sheraton was in there, and Rocket, who used to work there, and Dub Cornett were sitting there. And we walked in, Gary and I, and we said, we want to buy posters. We got $50. We're going to buy some Hatch posters for our band. Where are you playing? Oh, at the Roberts, the Western World down there, Roberts Western Wear. And, well, what's the name of your band? And we're like, BR549. And they all just totally cracked up. They were right on board. Then it was just like, oh, where do we put the hyphen? Where is it between the R and the, or is it between the 5 and the 49? And so we ended up actually putting it in the wrong place from where they did it.
You ended up dropping it, didn't you?
Eventually, that was just a design thing.
Okay.
We were still BR549, but it seemed like it was a big change at the time. But it
I think on Apple Music, there's 2 different bands. One is BR-549 and one has no dash in it.
Well, we're newly rehyphenated.
Okay.
So then we had the name at least, and everybody thought it was a real hoot. But then we didn't have to go anywhere because things kept happening. Like all the artists.
Were you packing the joint night after night?
Yeah.
Oh.
Starting about October of '94, it was started to get crazy. People standing up on coolers and shit.
Like every night?
Yeah. Mostly Friday and Saturday, But we noticed early on that if you took a break, especially at midnight, that people would leave. So we're just trying to keep people in the bar. So we're like, what am I going to do on a break anyway? I'll lose the momentum of the moment.
Just keep rocking.
So we just would play straight through. No one told us that we had to do that.
And there's no tourists down there.
Well, there's some.
Yeah.
Mostly European. We met a lot of Germans.
Really?
And a lot of Irish people.
Okay.
Yeah, man. And Japanese people.
What were they coming to Broadway for?
Because that was country music.
Okay.
They were country music fans. And then there would be people there was this one couple who owned several apartment complexes in Oklahoma City. And they'd come through 2 or 3 times a year. And they come down and stay for a week, get hammered on Lower Broadway, and they go back to their jobs, and they were great. Yeah. And so, and they would show up at Dos Cajones things at Tootsie's because we were still Dos Cajones at Tootsie's. I even sold a little cassette. Some of those songs they ended up on the BR record. Though.
Okay. You guys owned that strip.
We did.
That's amazing.
It was. It was really amazing.
How did it evolve into making records?
Okay, well, here's how it happened. So people started coming down to see us. All of a sudden, we're friends with the Mavericks because, they had just...
Where were they at
They
that
had
point?
just come out and they had their first hit.
Record.
And, And so they were all hanging out down there. We met Raul and
would they ever
Paul.
play down there or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
They're just hanging out.
Nobody would sit in either. Steve Earle would be coming down, and Marty Stewart was the first guy. I have a picture of the very first second that I met Marty Stewart. He came through. I was playing in the afternoon at Tootsie's one time. I was filling in like 2 to something. But it was in the middle of the afternoon, and he brings in this TNN film crew. And there's nobody there. And I'm just up there playing. And I'm like, Marty, what do you want to hear? And he goes, a little test for me. Because he had heard me doing a little boogie-woogie hillbilly thing. Play Dixie Fried, a little obscure Carl Perkins. And I went into
Nailed it.
And the next thing I know, he's up on the bandstand with me doing the left hand, and I'm playing the right hand.
Oh, my God.
And someone took a picture of it. And so Marty started bringing people down. He brought Connie down.
Like he'd just come and hang out?
Yeah, because he could tell it was happening. Yeah. He could tell where we were going. And we lost the sax player.
Yeah.
We had to kick him out because he was just not a good person, and that's not what we were into.
Yeah.
So we had a 4-piece for a while, and the first time we played out of Roberts.
No steel.
It was just, electric bass and Shaw and Gary and me, and that was it. And the first time we played out of Roberts was at 328 Performance Hall, and we opened up for Nick Lowe.
Oh, cool.
And that's how we got to be friends with Nick. I'm still in touch with Nick. So, but we always wanted an upright bass. It was like that's what we hear. There's a lot of air in it. We wanted that. It was more swingy. Well, meanwhile, this guy named Smilin' Jay, we called him because he was always smiling and in a good mood, young kid. He was in this rockabilly band called Hellbilly, and he was a guitar player. But he was hanging down at Roberts all the time, and we became great friends. And Shaw and him moved in together.
Okay.
They became roommates. And at that Nick Lowe show, we're like, Gary and I, we'd talked about it. We're like, Jay, why don't you just get a Doghouse bass and be our bass player? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, let me think about it. So we did.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'll do it. But now I got to go get a bass. So there was none that we could find around here at that time.
Grunes didn't have one?
No. Well, not that was like a lot of money. There was this place outside of Knoxville that sold Englehart basses, which is a great company, moderately priced, doesn't exist anymore, of course. So we did, Shaw and Jay and I, little road trip.
Yeah.
We go to get his bass and come back. And that was on a Wednesday. And he's in there, working on trying to
get it together
before we announce it or anything. We go to Bones, the old bass player, and we say, okay, in 2 weeks, Jay's going to take over.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, he can start playing this weekend.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So Jay had the thing on the Wednesday before we played we played that weekend with Bones. And on Monday, I'm like, you got to come down and play with us at Tootsie's on Monday. So Dos Cajones became Three Pecker Goat.
It's even better.
Yeah. And it just so happened like, I think it was Joe Ely was in the audience, and it was just packed at Tootsie's on a Monday night.
Amazing.
And Jay has to play bass for the first time.
Whoa.
And then he played that weekend, and
how'd he do?
He was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great.
Amazing.
And he kept getting better, and that's what he'd always say. That was his mantra. I appreciate the support, and I'll continue to get better. He still says that, I think. So meanwhile, Gary's roommate was this guy named Don Heron, and he was in this band called Southern Explosion, and he great fiddler, like incredible fiddler. He'd come down sometimes and sit in with us at Roberts, and wow, that's really, really great.
Did you know he played steel too?
And well, he said, if you guys ever get a Doghouse bass, I'll learn how to play steel and
so he hadn't played before either?
No.
Wow.
So he had, and so we got Jay.
Yeah.
And so it just so happened that Donnie was like pumping iron or something, doing some sort of gym thing, and fucked up his elbow. So he had to stop playing fiddle for a while. And he was convalescing at his mom's house in upstate New York. He lived out on the farm somewhere because he's originally from West Virginia. He really is a hillbilly. And so all that time he was convalescing, he could play steel. So I lent him, I had a 6-string lap steel, and he started playing on that. And then he got like an 8-string. And
he got deep
and so then, little by little, because he's a fantastic musician and can play just about anything with strings.
Mm-hmm. But he hadn't played before that?
No.
Amazing.
No.
He sounds incredible by the time he made the first record.
Yeah, but he has his own style too.
Yeah,
he didn't really copy anybody. He got the vibe, but then he had his own vibe, which was off the charts. And so, true to his word, on April 1st of 1995, Donnie's in the band, and everybody was, first everybody thought we were screwing up by firing Bones. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? You're ruining it. And then it was like, oh no, this is great. And then, okay, we're going to have a fiddle and a steel player. Oh, you're going to ruin what you're doing and everything. And then from the very first gig, it was like he was always there.
Right.
It was a special groove that we had that if you put anybody else in it, you've been in bands like that. Yeah. It's like, we're the sum of our parts, and this is what makes it cool. So then 95 was just off. It just kept getting better and better. Just all sorts of people coming in.
Still not leaving Broadway.
Still not leaving Broadway.
Amazing.
And there was one, but the word really got around nationally because there was like some sort of conference with all the writers and even cartoonists and from all the Nashville scenes from all over the United States, like, the Kansas City Pitch and the St. Louis or Chicago Reader and St. Louis, whatever, Riverfront.
The weekly rags.
Yeah, the weekly music alt rag.
Yeah.
And everybody was here and they were hanging out at Roberts every night.
Wow, perfect.
And they had the second gig we played at Roberts was at the brandly new renovated Ryman Auditorium.
Oh, wow.
Which we'd been in the alley for the last year and a half watching them do it.
Yeah.
Watching them, build. We were going to sneak in at one point, and it wasn't a good idea. And we were looking at the Batman building being built too.
Oh,
before it was all lit up, it really did look like Batman.
Wow.
It was, and we thought we were the only people calling it that, but it was everywhere. But we went to the Ryman Auditorium and played for those, they had an event at the Ryman. And that was the first time we got to play there.
That was like the grand reopening.
Well, it wasn't the reopening. They'd already reopened it. Like, Merle Haggard had played there, and we went to the shows, but it was the first time we got to play there. It had been open maybe not a year, maybe a year. It was reopened. And it was for all those newspaper people, that was an event for them. And I think the Fairfield 4 played there too.
Cool. Yeah.
And I can't remember who else. But then, of course, we went right across the alley and played our regular set at Roberts, and everybody was, so the word got around about us. Yeah. And we kept thinking, well, what's going to happen? Nothing's happening. But what we didn't know was that all those labels were waiting for us to take a break. All those label heads would come down and see us, and they didn't stay till 2 when, But all these people had their eye on us because there was a line all the way out around the block.
Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, like the kind of music that you're playing was so not what anyone was looking for label wise, or especially around here.
Well, no. I mean, but it was all recognized by the artists, like Alan Jackson. We played his Christmas party.
Oh, really?
At Roberts. Yeah. I talked to him later, and it got pretty fun at that party. And I talked to him later, and he goes, "Yeah, I think that was the last Christmas party." But we were definitely getting some interest.
Because you signed to Arista, right?
Yeah.
Or Arista.
But,
right? How do you say it?
Arista. But what happened was, at Fanfare in 1995, Paul Deacon from the Mavericks brought Timothy White down to see us. Timothy White was the editor of Billboard magazine.
Oh, wow.
And we had gotten called. Like, I got a call. We got a call from somebody on Music Row, and Gary and I went to meet him, and it was like, well, what's going to happen is, if your drummer can't play in the studio, we'll just get a guy and blah blah blah. And we're like, that's not what we're about, really. Yeah. We didn't want to be all highfalutin about it. We should have, in retrospect, we should have gotten into a little more involved in Music Row without compromising, our thing. But back then, it was just pretty much.
Had you done any recording at that point?
No. Okay,
Nashville?
So we got a production deal with Joseph Noyens out at the Castle, and that's where Mike Janis was the manager of the Castle studio.
Where was that?
It's on Old Hillsborough Road, like on the way to Leaper's Fork.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's a place that was owned by Al Capone at one point.
Oh, I've heard about that
an
place.
old castle.
Yeah.
Great studio. Terrific facility.
Is it still a studio?
And so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we got a production deal out there. So like we were recording, but we weren't really recording in the front part. We were recording in the barn, and Bill Lloyd was recording with the group up there, and they were shooting water balloons at us at one point. But that's okay. We got them. But so we were kind of recording these demos.
With the intention of shopping
with the intention of of getting a deal. So then, but it was like we were going to be going to them. So Timothy White comes in and has a few beers and says, "I'm going to put them on the cover of Billboard magazine."
Holy shit!
And he did.
Whoa!
With Greg Gehring and Tim Carroll, which was like this thing that was happening on Lower Broadway. Immediately, 7 labels wanted to sign us.
Really?
Yeah. Like right after that. Like we had the guy from Sire.
What the phone just started ringing?
Yeah, my phone and Gary's phone start ringing.
And they want to know what's up. And
So now, okay, well, there was a relationship with Arista. And we met with like Sony people. And we met with, and Rounder people called us up and we're like, Rounder would be great. Oh, that would be great. That's where they have real artists, but they still give you money and stuff. So we ended up going with Arista because, it was just I think that was the wisest decision. That's if we were going with any major label, that was it. Tim Dubois is a songwriter. He knows music. They're successful. They have money to put behind us.
So it sounds like there was a bit of like almost like a bidding war situation going on where all these labels
wanted like RCA. That was when they were all different. Unlike now, they're all the same. Yeah. But like our RCA guy was down there, and the Columbia guy, but Arista seemed like that was the good fit for us if we're going to go for the big brass ring.
Okay, wow,
and we did, and I regret nothing. And we still got to work with Mike and Joseph.
Well, it sounds like that first record, I mean, it's so good and it really holds up. It doesn't sound dated at all. Like I listened to it this morning again and it was like, fuck, that's
the phone record you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we did Live from Roberts first.
Right.
We drug all these recording stuff up into there's another level above upstairs, and that actually originally where the balcony is in the back, that was Robert's office. Okay. We would come in every Wednesday and something will have changed. He would have put like, oh, these are new booths. Oh, the dance floor is bigger now. Wow, there's a balcony? One time we came in there and Jay couldn't find his amp. Where's my amp? Because we left our stuff there.
Yeah.
He was like, I can't find my amp. Well, where'd you leave it? I left it underneath the stairs. Well, they built a wall over the stairs. Oh so Peter Paul goes and gets a sledgehammer and looks in there. Oh, yeah, there's your amp. So he goes and gets a chainsaw and rips it out. We had to bring Jay's amp out from behind a wall. And there was other stuff back there, too. Who doesn't take stuff out?
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's Roberts. You couldn't make it up.
So how did you...
One time we were playing really early on. I think it might have been still when Robert kept the fluorescent lights on so nobody would steal shit. It was like playing at Kroger, It was weird. And
like all night, the fluorescent lights
all night.
Oh my God.
And so we're playing up there and we hear this ding. I'm like, what the fuck is that? It was a clanky ding too. Ding! What is that? And then we realized it was coming at a regular time. Robert was training boxers upstairs. And there's a big boxing ring, and that was the bell.
Like where the balcony is now?
No. Up the second, there's another level, like right over our heads.
There's another
level up there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I can't believe they haven't opened that up.
Yeah, me either.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's kind of cool that they didn't, because that's where the boxing ring. I
wonder if there's a boxing ring there still.
I don't think it is. No, they took it down a while back.
How do you get up there?
Well, if you go to the very back in the balcony, right by the door, there's another flight of stairs.
Oh, okay. Wow. Crazy.
It's secret, though.
Yeah.
And it's locked.
So how did you convince Arista to let you do a live record first? That seems crazy.
Well, because they wanted it to seem like it was street cred.
Okay.
They wanted to capture that thing that we had down there without ruining it.
But usually they ruin it. Like that,
they totally usually do. And in fact, we tried to overdub some stuff onto that, and it was just impossible. Yeah. So there's just like some tweaks that they had to make, dodging certain things.
And how did that work out for them and for you? Like, was it?
We sold tons of those.
Yeah.
We didn't sell millions,
but it was solid.
We sold enough that we got to make a couple more records with Arista.
Cheap to make, obviously.
That was fairly cheap.
So the phone record, how did you approach that?
Well,
because I think that's a wicked sounding record.
Well, it's great because we just went in there and played. I mean, of course, we overdubbed it and sweetened it and everything at the Castle.
Okay,
we did the first 3 records out there at the Castle.
Yeah,
and it's a great recording facility. We also recorded a cut with Kay Adams. You know Kay Adams, Little Pink Mac. Yeah. We recorded for the late Jeremy Tepper, and his Diesel Only label was putting out a compilation of trucking songs, and he hooked us up with Kay.
Okay,
and we went out and did this song that she and her husband wrote called "Mama Was a Rock, Daddy Was a Rolling Stone." Nice. It's a cool song.
Yeah,
but it was all at the Castle.
Okay,
and we felt really comfortable out there.
Did you just set up like a gig essentially? Did you have like
no? There were baffles, and I think Gary was in ISO booth, or Donnie was in an ISO booth with the fiddle. And if he was doing steel, if it was more of a steel thing, then we were all out.
But you were doing all your vocals live and all that stuff?
No, we didn't. We went back and overdubbed vocals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because,
Why?
Yeah, why not?
I
can sing better when I'm not playing, and I can play better when I'm not singing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a thing. We can do it.
Yeah, I know you can.
But it seemed better to do it the other way. I mean, we did scratch vocals, and we tried to get it we tried to get it all.
Yeah.
I've done subsequent things like that.
Yeah.
Like my record, the Back at the Quonset Hut, that I did with Mike Janis, actually, because it was in conjunction with Belmont, because they own the old Quonset Hut.
Yeah.
And we did do it live there. I had my band, which is Marty Lenz and Mark Miller and Mark Andrew Miller and Carco Clave playing steel utility guy. But then I had Chris Scruggs and Wes Langlow, but then I hired the A-Team guys. I hired Harold Bradley and Pig Robbins.
Amazing.
And Bob Moore, and we did it live.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so happy that place is still there. It's incredible.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I think they've recorded a bunch of stuff since then in there. But BR, that was the way you did things. And we wanted to make it sound like the best us it could possibly be. And so, you get in there in the Humilitron singing. I didn't coin that phrase. Who was it that
that's a good one.
Somebody coined it when you were in there in the ISO booth doing vocals. Oh,
the Humilitron. Oh, yeah. How did that compare to making, like more recent records for you? Like the one that you did in Memphis a couple of years back, or I guess it's like 5 or 6 years back.
That we tried to do pretty much live too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went back and resung a couple of things, and we did some overdubs, but mostly that's like we got the band vibe because Matt Rossbang did that. Yeah. We recorded on tape, 2-inch tape first with everybody playing and just going at it.
So that was at Sam Phillips?
Yeah, at Sam Phillips Studio, not the old place that they call Sun, which was really called the Memphis Recording Service,
right?
But everybody calls it Sun.
Yeah,
I have recorded there. I've done some stuff there, and I produced a couple of records there. But
it's a cool place.
It's a cool place.
You can still use it as a working studio.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Matt was there. Matt's the guy that got it up and running right. And then he moved to the Phillips studio.
Which is, I think, incredible. It's the most incredible time capsule in America, probably.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And it's the studio that Sam Phillips built when he had enough money to do what he wanted to do. And so it's incredibly versatile as far as room noise.
Yeah.
With those, he opens up these.
It's kind of a perfect size, I think, for making records in.
It is.
It's not too big where everything's kind of like a little uncontrollable, but it's big enough to hold like a horn section and some string players and a
grand piano, whatever you need. And they got this incredible echo chamber.
I know, it's crazy.
Strong.
Yeah,
it is very strong.
And then a tiny control room.
And it's so cool because it just reeks of Sam Phillips in there.
Yeah.
I mean, just soaking up that spirit.
Yeah.
Where, you know,
carpet on the walls.
Oh, that was a fuck up. No, keep that. That's what made it good. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like walking back into 1962. I mean, they recorded Wooly Bully in there.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, you just think of the ghost of Charlie Rich. Who wants to drink with the Silver Fox? I have a friend who was at a bar one night and Charlie Rich came in and announced that. Who wants to drink with the Silver Fox?
At what point did the band start touring?
BR?
Yeah.
Like immediately upon the release of Live from Roberts, we left Roberts.
Okay.
And we started going on the road.
Yeah.
And
you guys hit it pretty hard.
Yeah, right? We hit it really hard. There was one year where I'm not exaggerating, I have the documentation. We weren't out on the road 300 days. We played 300 shows.
Oh my God.
That year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Yeah. Now that counts some Roberts, but not much.
Would you come back and do little stints at Roberts, or were you kind of out?
We were kind of out, you know, unless it was like fanfare, we would do a show at Roberts. So New Year's Eve, we'd come back sometimes and do Roberts.
So by the time that happened and you'd kind of left, was Lower Broad kind of becoming a thing again, or was it still just really those three spots?
It was still pretty rustic down there, and Brazil Billy took over where we left off, and Don Kelly started playing
since then. Eh?
What's that?
They were doing it since then.
Since 90. Yeah, Jesse. Yeah. Jesse ended up buying the place from Robert.
Yeah.
You know, Jesse Lee Jones, and he's done a great job of keeping the. Otherwise, I wouldn't be wearing the hat.
Yeah.
They've done a great job of keeping the spirit of that place the same.
God,
and it was amazing too, because, you know, I had so much fun down there, and we did a thing, and it was when it started getting ultra popular, like annoying, just bar hopping, and you started hearing Journey coming out of the Tootsie's Orchid Lounge in the back, like, you know, you could hear all these songs anywhere. It was like spring break down there. And I went down and played at Roberts, and I swore I'd never do it again because it was just so crushing.
But
like,
you are
it wasn't
doing
the
it
same
again,
thing.
right?
But then, like 3 or 4 years later, it turned a corner where people know what happens at Roberts isn't what happens anywhere else on the street.
Yeah.
And they come there for that. And so you get a different sort of clientele. Of course, you're going to get people that are just coming through, you know, patrons, just like it's any other bar to them. But the people that know come there for a thing.
I mean, if I have to go to Broadway for any reason, that's the only place I'm going to end up.
Roberts and Layla's.
Yeah.
Those are the places. And because Layla used to let us do whatever we wanted to. There was a time when we would go over and play at Layla's, come off the road and play at Layla's kind of because if we played at Roberts, it would have been a big deal, you know. It would be Jay and Shaw and I we would choose a different name. Sometimes Donnie would play with us. We would be like, we call ourselves Biohazard, or one Onion. We were called Onion once.
So when you do it now, is it like, are you just sitting in with whichever band is there?
No, I have my guys.
Okay, cool.
And I decided to embrace it.
Like once a month or something?
I do it once a month.
Wicked.
And it's great. Yeah. And it helps keep me sharp. Like, and it's changed, because when I was playing down there, oldies were Lefty Frizzell, Hank Williams, you know, Charlie Pride, Waylon, those were oldies. And now Alan Jackson and Dwight Yoakam and Trisha Yearwood, those are all those are oldies now.
So what do you do? Do you play your own tunes?
I just do whatever I want, just like I always have. Yeah. I play my own tunes because there's people that come down because I'm playing. Yeah. I mean, there's a certain amount of my crowd, but I know that there are other people that have no idea who or what. Right. You know, I'm just another guy down there playing. The joint's going to be
packed regardless.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And, you know, people are pretty generous down there. And, you know,
that's cool.
We go out on a limb and we have a different fourth guy almost every time. I mean, Ditch has been playing steel with us fairly often. But this month when I played down there, Paul Kramer played fiddle and guitar. And then Anthony Castagna was just in the audience. He's a great player. He got up and played the last 45 minutes with us, and all of a sudden we got this great Western swing outfit again. Oh, okay, now my window faces south. Let's do it. Ching, 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 you know.
Yeah.
We get to really swinging on that, and it was really rocking. It was really great. So we kind of have a rotating fourth person. The stalwarts are Marky and Marty back there.
Okay.
Because Andrew Miller he was in the last incarnation of BR. We've been playing together for over 20 years now. And
so
Marty,
what happened to BR in the end? Like, was it just like you got burnt out?
Yes, I mean we were hitting it so hard it was ridiculous. And in retrospect, if we'd have just taken a month breather at some point,
probably would have
it would have changed people's minds, you know, and maybe a little bit. I don't know. It would have helped Jay's hands out. I know that because you're out there and you give it all.
Yep.
That was just the way we always thought. 100%. Doesn't matter who's there. And we did a lot of cool things, man. We were on tour at the Black Crowes. That was a cool thing about BR. We could be on tour at the Black Crowes, but then we did like 4 shows with George Jones, and now we're opening up for Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. Okay, I'm in. All that.
Were you getting hit up to open for acts a lot in those days?
Yeah, well, our managers were probably hitting them up, probably. But actually, the Crows asked for us.
Oh, cool.
And we're still friends with them today.
Yeah.
I love those guys. They're great. Yeah. We had some great fun times, and more to come. We ended up playing Kate and Chris's wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was a great experience. Great New Year's Eve. But so Jay said, "Man, I want to start a family."
Yeah.
It was in 2001, and I just can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I'm like, okay. So and then we're like, we got to find another bass player. This is going to mess up the vibe. Mm-hmm. We know that. So that means we're going to have to get like professional and have rehearsals and stuff,
Screw that.
And we never had rehearsals. We were down there in the street. We just can do it.
Yeah.
But then Gary announced that he was also leaving. So then that left Donnie and Shaw and I going, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So we went down and played Layla's for a little while, and then we decided that we'd find a couple other guys and carry on. And down there at Layla's, Chris Scruggs was like 19 years old, and he was down there playing. And
what was he doing down there? Just playing in bands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since he was getting like high school credit for playing down there.
Really?
Yeah, he was down there when he was 16.
Yeah.
I'd see him at like 2 a.m. at the Hermitage Inn. I'm like, what? Hanging out with these rockabilly pinheads.
Playing like guitar and steel and whatever.
Well, he wasn't playing steel then; it was just guitar.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, he started coming up on it pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. He's the man.
Yes, he is.
So and then this other guy. So we decided to grab Jeff Firebaugh, who ended up being in Hillbilly Casino. And we're like, okay, well, this is the new BR.
Yeah.
And in that interim time, Dave Rowe, you know mm-hmm. Dave Rowe, late Dave Rowe, he and I were great friends. We had produced a couple of records for the Dual Tone label, like a Johnny Cash tribute record.
Oh, yeah.
And a Waylon Jennings tribute. Right? But that was a little bit later. But the dudes that ran Dual Tone were Arista guys, Dan Harrington and Scott Robinson. And so I went to them and like, here, I'm working on this stuff, I'm going to do a solo record. And they're like, well, that just sounds kind of like BR. Why don't you just put BR?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll do that because we already had, we had the brand name.
Was there any complication with the?
We ended up,
okay.
Technically now, legally, BR 549 is me and Shaw and Donnie.
Okay.
But, it's still a partnership. We still have publishing interest. Mm-hmm. I'm getting into too much detail. But anyway, so we went out and made made a record for Dual Tone and went out on the road. And then Chris left the band. Oh, no, Chris didn't leave the band. We fired Jeff, and we were looking for a bass player, and Dave Rowe, again, said, oh, there's this guy named Mark Miller. Mm-hmm. He had this band called The Ex-Husbands. Like, oh, yeah, I remember. I know that band. Yeah, he's in town. And so he came on, and trial by fire, here we go.
Yeah.
It's in A.
And a 1, and a 2.
And then Chris left, and the last BR record was just Donnie, me, and Shaw, and Mark. We did that with John Keane down in Georgia, Athens, Georgia.
Oh, why there? That's just
we just decided that, our manager at the time, who was David Macias, said, "Hey, I think you need to get out of town and do this record. Just go down to Athens and do it with John Keane. He works with Widespread Panic, and he knows he's on with those REM guys, and he's great. I just talked to him not too long ago. He's fantastic, and we had a great time making that record, and it was a really good sounding record.
It is, yeah.
But in '97 for a whole summer, we did a bunch of shows with Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah,
and it was great. And
did you ever meet him?
He took you
did?
Oh yeah.
A lot of people don't meet him.
Yeah, man, he was very generous.
Okay.
Except for then he recruited Donnie to be in his band.
Right.
But that's okay. I mean, we'd run our course. It was
so it was feeling like it was.
Yeah, it was. The last BR tour, the Avett Brothers were opening up for us.
Oh wow.
And then Donnie went to play with Bob, and it was
he had that gig for a long time, right?
Yeah, until just recently.
Yeah.
And it was great. He did great in Bob's band, and I love Donnie. He's one of my favorite people in the world. So that was when I was forced to now what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got into being the music supervisor and director for a Broadway show.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like a whole huge thing, but can you give me
I'll give you the elevator version.
Yeah. How did that come about?
I got a call from Colin Escott.
We should clarify that this is the Million Dollar Quartet musical.
Yeah, it's a Broadway musical. Tony-winning Broadway musical.
Okay.
I got a call from Colin Escott, one of my favorite authors, who had worked a little bit with my wife. My wife was the curator of the Grand Ole Opry Museum and collections and stuff back then.
Oh, cool.
And so she and Colin had worked together, and she had given him my number. And he's like, "Have you ever thought about working in the musical theater?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Well, I've written this thing about the Million Dollar Quartet." And I'm like, "Well, I know that music." And so I just, BR was no more, basically.
Which must have been kind of like a carpet pulled out from under you.
It was.
But
then I also, at that time, I got a songwriting deal too with our old manager, Barry Coburn, over at 1010 Music. So I was starting to really learn how to sit in a room with somebody and make something up that was good. Mm-hmm. And I really loved that 2-year period where I was doing that.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of overlapped with this musical thing.
Yeah.
And I passed muster. One of the producers couldn't understand why a music director was good that couldn't read music, but they wanted it to be real rockabilly music.
Yep.
Instead of
a New York. The musical was done.
Well, it was still developed.
Okay.
It was like they were putting a production up in Daytona Beach at a small theater that was run by the newspaper.
Sort of a trial kind of thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a working production, and you're still fighting over what songs work, and you can tweak things, and I get down there. I don't even have an iPod at the time.
What's your role?
I'm the music supervisor, the director. I'm supposed to provide them with a score. Here's what the music is, and I'm putting all the arrangements together, all these songs.
Oh, okay.
And in my mind, it's like, it's fucking Blue Suede Shoes. It's in A. Well, there's a one for the money, gong, gong. It's easy, man. And so we'd done some auditions because all 4 of the icons have to play and sing and act like their character.
Yeah.
So I knew a guy named Brandon Giles who used to do a Jerry Lee type thing at Layla's, and I'm like, "Dude, come be in this musical." And he's like, "I never acted." And I'm like, "You'd be good. It'll be great." Mm-hmm. And so I got him and another guy from the rockabilly scene to be Elvis, really tall Elvis.
From here?
He was from Chicago.
How'd you find him?
Because he's, he come through town, Nashville, rockabilly scene.
Yeah.
It's a community.
Okay, yeah.
And they had hired a couple of guys to be Carl Perkins because in their eyes, nobody knows who Carl Perkins is anyway. And I have to correct them that plenty of people do know who Carl Perkins is.
And you got to get it right.
Yeah, and you got to get it right. But it was a guy who was like a rock and roll guy who'd never really had much theater experience, but he learned how to play the rockabilly licks. Mm-hmm. And the guy that played Johnny Cash was a guy named Lance Guest, who
what year is this?
This is 05.
Okay.
06. Yeah. Sorry, 06. Lance Guest is notable because he was in a movie called The Last Starfighter, which is a cult sci-fi movie that has Robert Preston in it and everything. And he's like a legit, actor. And then there's the Sam Phillips character, and there's a woman character.
Why did he end up with the Johnny Cash role?
Because they had auditioned before I came on board. They did a reading of it, and they used Rod Lyons was the guy who was playing Carl Perkins. I became very close with him. He's still one of my dear friends. So that those were and there's a girl, a woman that was there that was Elvis's girlfriend. In real life, her name was Marilyn, but they called her Diane because they didn't want to get sued, because lawyers. And then a Sam Phillips guy, and then a rhythm section, just a drummer and a bass player.
Yeah.
And, okay, I need a bass player that knows how to play upright. It's got to be a thing. It's a thing. And he goes, oh, this guy, he graduated in upright bass. Okay. And, you get the theater drummers are good because they swing. I don't want a guy that's playing like straight rock and roll. Totally. It has to swing like Ringo or, like old drummers like DJ Fontana and W.S. Holland. So I was cool with that, but this guy had no idea what to do on the upright bass. And I was trying to hook him up with Dave Rowe to, show him how to do it. I'm giving him tapes, and I'm like, can't understand why he's not taking the bass home to practice.
Do you have the power to fire and hire, or no?
Well, what I didn't know at the time was that all the instruments in these productions are considered props, and you can't take them out.
Oh, okay.
But he still didn't have a bass at home to work on, and it was
weird.
And it was struggling. And I'm like, you guys, this is going to be awful unless we get a guy that knows what he's doing. And they're like, they're freaking out because I want to fire some guy.
It's just the bass player.
And they have lines too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. So I go. I don't even have a laptop computer. I go to the theater computer and I just type in Orlando Rockabilly.
Really?
And this band comes up, Rocket 88, and their bass player is a guy named Chuck Zayas. I'm like, okay. So I'm calling Dave Rowe all the time, going, trying to hook him up with this guy. I'm like, I'm having trouble. He goes, I know a guy down there when I was playing with Cash. His name is Animal or something. Here's his number. So I call him up, and he's like, no, man, I wouldn't be good for that. I'm a hack, but you need to talk to Chuck Zayas.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, okay.
Double referral.
So then I get a call from Roe, whose brother owns a music store down there, and he goes, oh, yeah, this is a guy named Chuck Zayas that you got to... I'm like, well, obviously I need to call this guy.
That's the guy.
And I did, and I got him in, and they were like, are you sure you're not going to want to fire this guy? And I'm like, hold on. And I mean, from the very first note, they absolutely knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I was gold from then on.
Yeah. All right.
Like I was literally the maestro at that point.
Uh-huh.
But, it morphed, it changed. We did another working production in 2007.
So a working production, like how long does that last in Florida for?
I was down there for like a month in rehearsals, and then they played for maybe another month and a half. They did shows.
And were you there the whole time?
No.
Okay. You just let it go.
As soon as opening night was on, I'd go back home.
Yeah.
And then we were going to do another one up there in Issaquah, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle, which was the place they had the reading, the Village Theater. It's a great place. Different cast now because the Elvis guy doesn't want to do it. Nick didn't want to do it. And Brandon didn't want to do it either.
So it hadn't taken off at all.
Well, no, this was it's still just working.
Yeah.
It's professional. People are getting paid, but it's not like an official production.
Okay.
These development shows. So this guy named Levi Christ is going to be Jerry Lee now. They found him in Los Angeles, and he is fantastic, and he's from Tennessee, so he gets the hillbilly part.
Yeah. And
he knows Jerry Lee Lewis, but he's also musical theater. And the Elvis guy they have down there, it's a local guy, and I'm like, you guys, this is not Elvis. We're gonna be suffering if we get You
gotta have a good Elvis.
But they had to have like a certain amount of their local actors in, and I really had to it was a struggle.
Okay.
And had a great bass player that was they let me audition the players this time.
Oh, yeah.
So I got like a real guy, Corey, and the drummer was great too. And it was a good production, except for the Jerry Lee Lewis guy broke his leg in the middle and broke his knee in the middle of the production.
Oh my God.
There was he was still doing the show, but he was kind of creeping around like Richard III, and which kind of made it even better, creepier. People said, I never saw it when it happened. Yeah. But anyway, then we went on. Then we got a different director because there was an incident with one of the producer, writer guy who it's a long story I don't want to get into. Okay. It's insanity. So then we're going to go all pro in Chicago at the Goodman Theater. And then we're going to move to the Apollo after a little while. So we do these rehearsals at the Apollo, and we have Eric Schaefer's on board now. He was the director of one of the biggest indie theaters in Arlington, Virginia. Really ultra successful, really great guy, and I love him to death still. And that was where we did, I got a rockabilly guy to be Elvis, and I got Chuck Zayas to move up to Chicago to play bass. And
so it really came together there.
And that was our professional day, and it ran 8.5 years.
Oh my God.
In Chicago. And then
and again you launched it, and
that was 2008, and I launched it and came back. And then in 2010, we got a theater in New York at the Nederlander Theater. So we're going to Broadway. So we took the 4 guys from the Chicago production to Broadway and recast that. There was some disgruntlement amongst the people that didn't get to go to Broadway because we had to hire other Broadway people.
That's how it goes, man.
And
right?
actually, Corey, who was in Issaquah playing bass, had moved. His wife was from New York, so they had moved back. So now he's the bass. It's somebody I already worked with,
right?
And so it was a killer show. And we ran 2 years in New York, and a little bit up from the Nederlander, another 8 or 10 months, and then we went to West End. In London, I lived in London for 3 months, putting this thing. Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
And you had to work with British.
Guys worked with British guys there. Although we couldn't find, at that time, amazing Jerry Lee Lewis.
Really?
Really great. Another music director, proper musician, but understood the rock and roll.
Because there's a feel that doesn't translate.
There is, and I found a killer rhythm section.
Really?
Because there's English rockabilly guys, man. Yeah. And but we couldn't really find a real strong Carl Perkins, and so we brought Rob. Rob was in Chicago and then Broadway, and then we had him. For a while he was in all the productions at one point, and
they didn't overlap at all. It was always
no. Then we had the understudy be Carl while he was in London doing it, and then we trained another guy from London up who ended up being a great Carl Perkins a couple of different times later on, and then we. we were on West End for a year, and then we did a Las Vegas production that ran for 5.5 years.
Oh my God!
And we did a national tour for 4 years.
Yeah,
and then it was licensed. Now it's everywhere.
Yeah, my parents just saw it in Vancouver. So or last year.
I hope I get my check.
So what's your when you say that? I don't need to know what the check is, but what's your stake in the whole situation?
Well, I those are my arrangements, and while I settle outright, I have publishing on the public domain songs.
What would the public domain songs be?
A public domain song is down by the riverside.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, and so I get a little something for the licensing,
as you should,
and for the but then they made a separate license with the Norwegian Cruise Line. So for 9 years, and they wanted the original Broadway people. So Eric didn't do it, but his associate, who I worked with a bunch now on other productions, Scott Weinstein, we would go down 2 times a year to Tampa, rehearse for 3 weeks, and then go on the ship for 7 or 10 days and put them on the ship and then come back and do auditions for the next 6 months for 9 years. That's like having a straight job for 9 years.
Yeah, man.
And it was great. It was a great job. And it just ended. It just ended after
Officially,
9 years. Yeah, they're not on the ship anymore.
Okay.
But I've met a lot of great people, and now.
So is that musical done now, like officially?
Well, there's still productions out there.
Wow.
It's just I don't have anything to do with it unless they hire me to be the music director. So, but I still do shows. I've done a production of Pump Boys and Dinettes. And, like I MD'd that.
Okay.
Trying to give this, it's people want my little flavor of things. And I've done a production of Ring of Fire up in Chicago, and I'm getting ready. Like I leave Sunday, I'm going up to do an Always Patsy Cline production.
Oh, really?
Where I put the music together for that.
So it's definitely like that stuff has stemmed from the Million Dollar.
From my reputation, Million Dollar Quartet. And now, now for the last quite a while, I've been trying to develop one myself. I'm writing. I don't want to kibitz it. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to jinx it. But it's a really good idea, and I got a lot of songs.
Wicked.
My pet peeve about modern musicals is that you can't walk away singing the song. Like the lyrics are too specific to the situation and to the character's feelings that, it's not like Mary Poppins where you can sing Spoonful of Sugar. Mm-hmm. You can sing Feed the Birds, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Chim Chimney. You can sing that outside the musical, but you put it in the musical and it propels the plot. That's the genius of the Sherman Brothers. And that's kind of that's what needs to happen. I saw the Bob Dylan musical 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, how was it?
Girl from the North Country. It was fabulous. The plot has nothing to do with Bob Dylan. It's just all his songs from different eras that somehow they insert into this plot. It's like a Depression era shopkeeper who has a black daughter that he's adopted up in Minnesota. Yeah, it's an amazing show.
Okay.
But it's all just Bob Dylan music.
Sort of loosely tied into this plot.
Yeah, but somehow they weave it in so that the songs matter to the situation. And that's genius. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do.
Okay. and you're writing it like from the ground up?
Yeah. I've been working on it for a while, and it's like a historical piece. But I think it's interesting.
Well, you've certainly got the connections to make it happen too, probably,
well,
right?
or try.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very least. Right now, it's I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be cool, though.
I bet. Well, thanks, Chuck.
Oh, that's it. Oh, we've been recording this whole time? Well, I thought we hadn't started yet.
Yeah, I could keep you here all day, but
I hope I didn't bore you too much.
No, man, it's fascinating.
Well, thanks for inviting me on the show.
Music Makers and Soul Shakers is a bi-weekly podcast produced at the Hen House Studio in Nashville, Tennessee. Please remember to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find us at makersandShakerspodcast.com. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors this season. We couldn't do this without them. Larrivee Guitars, Chase Bliss Pedals, Fab Filter, Odyssey Headphones, Railtown Mastering, Isotope, and the Hen House Hang. And of course, you for listening. We'll see you next time for another episode of Music Makers and Soul Shakers.